True Crime Arizona now, new developments in a high-profile murder conspiracy trial. The woman on trial could face the death penalty if she's convicted of masterminding a murder plot.
Prosecutors say the Glendale woman convinced her lover to kill her spouse. The medical examiner took the stand today. Our True Crime correspondent Brianna Whitney live with us tonight. So what did that medical examiner have to say?
Interesting. It's not just about what she said, it's also about what she showed. Autopsy photos of the victim, Alex Kuhn, and the ballistic evidence from multiple gunshots. Alex was Kimberly LaCount's husband, but was transitioning from a woman named Alice to a man. Well, the prosecution refers to her as Alice as they reveal what the medical examiner saw.
A lesson in anatomy for the jury today, as they learned what exactly happens during an autopsy and what the medical examiner saw on the victim and intended target of the calculated crime.
Do you reflect Ms. Kuhn's cause of death to be multiple gunshot wounds?
Yes.
Dr. Leslie Wallace Butler says Alice Kuhn, Kimberly LaCount's spouse, was shot in 3 places: the head, neck, and jaw. Prosecutors say in June of 2016, Kimberly LaCount schemed with her secret lover, Kipling Harris, to kill Kuhn, who had recently transitioned and was going by Alex. The state says LaCount concocted the plan, soliciting different lovers until she found one who would pull the trigger. Kipling Harris took the bait and not only shot and killed Kuhn, but also shot her parents, killing her mother. Harris was already convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The medical examiner says she used soot on and around the victim to determine how close the shooter and gun was to Kuhn and had to try and recreate the position Kuhn was in at the time of the shooting.
I have to take what evidence is on the body to potentially position them in a non-anatomic positional pattern to make wounds connect if they do connect.
The medical examiner says the shot to Kuhn's head traveled into her brain and said that or the shot to the neck could have been fatal. One thing that's certain, it was a brazen attack. But because of how fast it happened and where the gunshot wounds are, the ME says one thing remains unknown.
I cannot determine the chronological order, no.
And why is that?
When you have injuries that are temporary related, the injury patterns are going to be all bleeding. And so I cannot tell based off of the injury pattern or the blood patterns the actual chronologic order of the injuries themselves.
And in the afternoon, the medical examiner described how Peggy's autopsy went. That's Alex or Alice's mom. This is a capital case, which means if LaCount is convicted, she will be facing the death penalty. We expect children to testify who were caught in the middle of this tragedy. And the big question, will they ship Kipling Harris up from prison to testify? And will Kimberly LaCount take the stand herself? We'll be watching this to see.
Was there any aspect of the ME's testimony that was more prominent than others?
It's hard because it's very scientific, right? This is something that you might hear in a medical sense. Obviously, it's the medical examiner, but for the average person, it's kind of hard to digest. That's kind of the point, though. They were very careful in how they did this, and the prosecution wants to show that the investigation was done correctly, as was everything in the aftermath, done perfectly, done to a T. And listen to her talk about these scientific injuries, because at the end of the day, these are 3 shots to the head, 1 that went into her brain, and so they use that as, hey, this is horrific what happened to her, and this is the scientific way that it was done. So it's used for a reason. They have to establish that everything was done by the book to try to convince the jury that this is, that person, Kimberly LaCount, should be convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, according to the prosecution.
Everything on the line with this capital case.
Life or
Brianna,
death.
we know you'll follow it. Thanks.
Yeah.